We're going to be recording. So hello, welcome. Here we are at the Westchester, introducing all about the cooperative movement, and through the Westchester Cooperative Network, which was very short time ago founded here in Westchester. So I prepared a slide presentation, so I'm going to share my screen with you, and hopefully I'll present the ideas first, and then please, by all means, let me know any questions that you may have, and I'd love to discuss it with you a little bit further. So this presentation is like a one-on-one on cooperatives, and you can reach me at info@westchestercooperative.net. We are in the process of creating a website, which is going to be westchestercooperative.net, but it's not ready yet, but it will be very soon. And my phone number is right there. So what is a cooperative, right? A cooperative actually could be a business or anything else, you know, but the main idea about cooperatives is that it's designed to meet the common economic, social, and cultural needs of its members. So it's about the members. Cooperatives are democratically owned and governed by their members. Profits are shared and controlled by the members. And actually they are motivated, you know, by services to the members, not just profits. So it's a business that, of course, is going to have profits, hopefully, but not necessarily that being the end of all things in a cooperative. All cooperatives, no matter what type they are, they share 7 principles. And these principles are voluntary and open membership. So basically, there is no possible discrimination there. No discrimination based on gender, social, racial, political, whatever reason. The control of the cooperatives is democratic, and the members are controlling the business by deciding how it is run and who is going to be on the lead. Third, members' economic participation. That means that all members need to contribute in the cooperative. This could be through investments, or it could be through labor, or through participation. Whatever the cooperative decides is an investment that is valid, that's going to be it. So this means that people, not shareholders, are going to benefit from the co-op's profits. Fourth, autonomy and independence. What that means is that whenever a cooperative is making any kind of business deal or raising money or whatever, they will never compromise their autonomy or, very importantly, their democratic control of the entity by their members. Fifth, education, training, and information. What happens since most of the members of the cooperative participate actively in the cooperative? It is in the cooperative and their own benefit to provide education, training, all kinds of information so that the members can even better contribute to the success of the cooperative. So it's in everybody's benefit, and it's a win-win situation. 6, cooperation among cooperatives. So indeed, we are striving for a solidarity economy. So the idea is that cooperatives are going to be working together, and that's going to be the best strategy to empower them to build a stronger co-op economy. And finally, concern for community. So co-ops are community minded. So this stays in the community and they contribute to the development of their community by sourcing and investing locally. So this, as I was saying before, are principles that run across all types of cooperatives. And indeed, there are several types of cooperatives. We have worker cooperatives, producer cooperatives, housing, consumer, and multi-stakeholder, which are sometimes also called hybrid. So what's the difference between them? So let's start with worker cooperatives. And here we have several examples. If you're interested in any one of them, each one of these is a link to their website. So what's the idea behind a worker cooperative? The main, most important idea is that the business is owned by the workers. Second most important idea is that the management of the cooperative is done democratically on the base of one worker, one vote. There are many different other arrangements, but in a worker cooperative, each worker has one vote. There are many arrangements, as I was saying, of worker cooperatives, and they could be from a very small group of partners, maybe 2 or 3, like a bakery or bookstore, like I said here, or it could be very large industrial operations, like the Cooperative Home Care Associate that has over 2,000 members. That is here in the US, but in Spain, we have Mondragon, that is the entire town is a cooperative of cooperatives. In the United States, there are over 450 worker cooperatives, and they employ over 7,000 workers and generate quite a big amount of money, 550 million on the last count. So that's worker cooperatives. On the other side, you might have producer cooperatives. These are owned by the producers, as the name implies. So basically, these are several people that produce kind of the same type of things. And they share either the facilities for processing, that for instance, this artisan cooperative. It's a collection of artisans that share their, how do you say, where they do their art and how they sell it together. Land O'Lakes is very well known, you know, and so is the Cabot of Vermont. These are, you know, producer cooperatives, and yes, many of them are agriculture cooperatives. Housing cooperatives is something I think most of you are aware of and know well. These are cooperatively owned by the residents of a building or a set of buildings. The benefit to the residents is that the residences are more affordable. They offer an alternative to single-family housing. They save money because they cut out landlords' profit. They share common spaces. They have cheaper operating costs, and of course, the residents are also the ones that are governing the housing in a democratic way, either directly or through their representatives. So here we have several examples of these. I think the one that is best known in this area is co-op city in the Bronx. Consumer cooperatives, that's those, the typical example of a consumer cooperative is the food co-op. So what are consumer cooperatives? They are owned and managed by their consumers. So the people that do business there. So the customers or their elected representative will make the decisions for the business. And so here we have several food co-ops that are listed, but REI is also a consumer cooperative, and a credit union is also a type of consumer cooperative. Then we have the hybrids, and the hybrids, as the name implies, have a mix of members. So for instance, Kingston Food Co-op has some members that are the workers of the food co-op and other members that are the consumers. So they have different kind of rules. They, of course, all this has to be decided ahead of time, what it means to be one or the other and how they collaborate. And so that's just one example of multi-stakeholder cooperative. Hudzy is a streaming service of documentaries and other videos, and the Weaver Street Market is also a kind of the food cooperative. So are cooperatives something that is not existent, or very few of them are around in the US? Not really. Look at the electric cooperatives. So these are cooperatives that power over half the nation's landmass. They serve 42 million people across 88% of US counties. They power over 20 million businesses and homes and schools and whatever else. So I found that is very interesting, you know, that so much of the US is covered by electric cooperatives. Also, farming. Farmer cooperatives are widespread in the US. They have, you know, these are statistics from 2019. At that time, there were over $200 billion of total sales. There are almost 2 million farmer members in the US. So basically, I'm showing you these statistics to let you know that cooperative is not a foreign language in the US. It's not a foreign idea, definitely not. So we are interested mostly on the worker cooperatives. So a worker cooperative is a values-driven business. So why is that? Because it puts worker and community benefits at the center of its purpose, right? So there are two characteristics, as I said before. Workers are the ones that own the business. They participate in the financial success. So at the end of the year, if there is a profit, it gets divided among the workers or whatever they decide. In some instances, they may decide that a certain percentage goes reinvested to the cooperative. So that's all based on what they decide. And workers have representation on and vote for the board of directors, right? And again, adhering to the principle of one worker, one vote. Now, in a case that we have a cooperative that has 3 members, obviously, they are the board of directors, right? I mean, obviously, it depends on the size of the cooperative. What about worker cooperatives in the US? So there are 400, this again are 2019 statistics. There are 465 known worker co-ops. They gather over 6,000 workers, and they have a revenue of over $500 million a year. Here there is, I find it interesting, this is the U.S. Federation of Worker Cooperatives, and they have this map that shows you how the worker cooperatives are somewhat distributed across the country. And oh surprise, there is a lot in New York, right? The great majority of cooperatives are located in New York State, and more specifically in New York City. How do I get out of here? Wait. Yeah, okay. So, what about the distribution in terms of the demographics? So racial demographics show that actually, there is a majority of people of color, because between Latinx, Blacks, and Blacks, they have over almost 50% of the workers, the worker owners. Let's clarify that that are in the U.S. And in terms of gender, the great majority is female. What about their wages? Observe that the entry wage in a cooperative is almost $20 per hour, okay? So again, these are 2019 statistics. And what is also very interesting about this, excuse me a moment, it's what it's called the patronage, which is basically what I was saying before, is the profit that is distributed among the workers, the worker owners, each year after the balance of the business has been taken into account. So here we have over $8,000 that are in average being distributed to the worker owners each year. And very importantly and noticeable is the pay ratio, right? We know that in the U.S. corporation, the CEO to worker ratio is about 300 to 1, whereas in cooperatives, we have a 2 to 1 pay ratio between the highest and the lowest paid workers. So what kind of industries are covered by worker cooperatives in the US? So actually, any business can be a cooperative. But in the US, they tend to be in the service and retail industries. Accommodation and food service are two big ones. Healthcare is also pretty big. Manufacturing, engineering, technology, and design are less so, but still present in the cooperative world in the US. In New York City, we have a very special case. And this special case is thanks to the so-called Worker Cooperative Business Development Initiative, WCBDI, which is a fund that was created in 2015 by the New York City Department of Small Businesses and the New York City Council. So they started by funding $1.2 million in 2015, and they keep on doing that every year. And every year they were incrementing this fund, so much so that nowadays, actually last year, it amounted to $3.6 million. So thanks to that, the New York City has really a very rich ecosystem of worker cooperatives and organizations that support them. And that's actually why, we started here in Westchester. I said, wait a moment, we are just next door to New York City. What about having some of that come over here to Westchester County? Some of the difficulties are that because their activities are, are funded by this fund, that they are restricted to service only people in New York City, residents of New York City, I should say. So, still, it's an incredibly rich ecosystem. And what we are thinking or trying to do is seeing if some of those services could be provided maybe at a cost to us, to residents of Westchester County, not necessarily residents of the city. But more of that later. So what's the big deal about worker cooperatives? Well, the model really has proven to be effective to create and maintaining sustainable, dignified jobs, generating wealth because of that patronage that I was talking about before, improving the quality life of workers, and promoting a community and local economic development, because they actually are in the community and they are incredibly beneficial, particularly for people that otherwise would lack access to business ownership, or even in some cases, basic sustainable work options. So it has been shown that worker cooperatives actually create a change, a meaningful change, especially for underserved populations. It has been seen that more than half of worker cooperatives in the US today were designed to improve low-wage jobs and build wealth in communities that are mostly affected by inequality. So, how come they build local wealth? Well, mainly because, the money, the profit doesn't go to, some absent or distant investor. So the profits go directly to the workers. And so the money stays in the community, stays, building community wealth. And with ownership in the hands of the workers, these businesses are not going to be moving, I don't know, somewhere else. They are usually going to stay put, and allowing the workers to spend locally and live locally, and the commute, it's very close to the community. And so the companies stay connected in the community and accountable to the communities as well. How come they create quality jobs? Well, because, as I was saying before, the role of the workers is, they need to contribute to the success of the company, because they're owners. So there's an incredible shift in the attitude of the workers, because now they are part owning the business. So they take a totally different point of view and responsibility towards the company. A comment that comes to mind at this point was, one worker owner said, I'm not taking pencils home any longer. I'm not stealing. I would be stealing from myself if I would be taking the pencils at home. Anyway, the jobs, obviously tend to be much longer term. The better skills the workers are, the better the companies. So it is in the self-interest of the cooperative to train the workers, to provide better wages and, to offer more participation of the workers in the management and the governance of the business. Why? Because we're all invested in its success. So how do we get, so I'm convinced cooperatives are great. So let's get started with cooperatives. So one very interesting way of starting a cooperative is with what is called a transition. This means that retiring owners of a business decide to sell their business to their employees who form a worker cooperative. So what is interesting is that local businesses are now facing what is called a silver tsunami. These are the baby boomers that are reaching the age of retirement. So it's interesting to see that over half of all US businesses have owners that are over retirement age. We're talking about about 2.9 million firms in the US. And also very interesting that about 6 out of 10 will try to sell their businesses in this decade. And of course, many of them will not find buyers. So the idea is that instead of selling your business to a big corporation or a chain store corporation or something of the sort, why not sell it to your own employees? And again, this is a win-win situation because the employees benefit from now owning the already established business with a better pay because they are going to be part of the profit making, better benefits, and not only that, they also have a voice in the key decisions of how to run this business. On the owner side, the owners benefit by receiving a fair market value. They have several tax advantages, of course, depends on the state, and they can decide how flexible the timeline of their exit will be, and what will be their exit strategy as well. So that all has to be negotiated with the employees, the future owners of the business. And not only do employees and owners benefit from this arrangement, the communities benefit as well because they are now anchoring the business and retain the good jobs in the community. So what does it take for a transition to happen? So there are several steps, to transitioning a business to employee ownership. And so the very first one is to explore the fit. So, let's see, is there a fit? Is there a broad-based democratic ownership with the owner and the employees? Is this fit going to promote the future success of the business? Step 2, what about the finances? You have to run the numbers, see if the different scenarios are feasible. See if the employees are really interested, and see if you can develop some kind of a timeline and a roadmap to make it happen. Step 3, go down to business in a way. So structure the deal. And out of this, the most important part is the design of the bylaws and governance of the business. So you have to, of course, structure the legal structure, line up financing, and define what the owner is going to do. Either he's going to just stay away from the business or continue providing guidance or whatever you decide. And designing the bylaws and the governance, as I said, is the most important part because that's like the constitution of the business. Step 4, execute the sales agreement. So that's basically closing on and the financing and finalize the bylaws, finalize the plan, and start, and keep on the training and support of the employees, which should go through step 5, which supposed to implement and training the support of everybody on an ongoing basis. Now, all is, easy to say. It's easier said than done, indeed. But how long this takes? Well, in average, between 6 months and a year, if not more. The latest success in that respect, the latest transition of an employee ownership is the Ward Lumber, which is nowadays, since June 2021, a worker-owned cooperative, which is in upstate New York. And this employees become worker owners is an article about that. So one way to start a worker cooperative, then it's through a transition, an existing business. Another idea would be a new business. So that's what is called a startup. So that would be a co-op startup. So in stage 1 of the co-op startup, well, it's research and ideation. So here, based on the skills and the strengths of the members, you develop an idea, see how it runs in your community, see if it's feasible at all, and start connecting with local co-op networks, advocacy organizations, start getting training and things of that sort. Stage 2 implies that you need to start recruiting enough members that have these, vision and your strategy very clearly in their minds. Very importantly, try to create a decision-making process through consensus, majority vote, whatever, but you have to start already creating the rules on how your co-op is going to start making decisions. You need to research and create some kind of a business plan for the co-op and start thinking about fundraising ideas and how you're going to be working towards funding. Stage 3 starts the structure. So here, again, the most important thing is developing the bylaws, which determine, how it's going to be managed, what is the government structure, how are the elections, what are the responsibilities of each of the members, how are they held accountable. You have to start already getting the proper paperwork to legally incorporate the cooperative. Good idea to open a bank account and start developing a website and some other marketing materials. Stage 4 is launching the business. Here you are already in business, but of course you have to start thinking about taxes, learning about, and understanding business and income tax law, contact media, spread the word, do publicity, marketing, do customer service training, Constantly, members are educating themselves and each other about everything, about how to manage the business, client relations, you name it. Don't forget accounting and bookkeeping. So there are a lot of mm, roles that the members can play, and there is a lot of work. But how long does this process get? And I would say at least 1 year from the super beginning to the launching of the business. So why would you want to start and do all this job and do all this work? So, well, because as we were saying before, the cooperatives exist with a focus on service to the members. So it's not just bringing a return to investors. They're owned and controlled by the members. They help keep resources in the members' communities, are guided by the members' values. They are democratically organized. The membership provides the direction that is supported across the organization. Profits are returned to the members, right? So the members benefit financially from the business, and they contribute to the economic stability of the community. But not all is rosy. Why would you might why you might want to think twice before starting a co-op? Well, sometimes it's difficult to gain access to the capital that you need to start the business. So it's not easy. There are difficulties indeed. Definitely, cooperatives need to invest time and money in supporting the democratic process. So you have a lot of educating your members about how you hold meetings, how you vote, how do you respond to one another. So this is very time consuming at times. Sometimes there are legal limits, which also need to be taken into consideration. But let's remember, cooperatives are only as good as their members make them. When members stop investing time and effort, then cooperatives just reduce the benefits they provide to their members. So who are we? So we are the Westchester Cooperative Network. We spread awareness of the worker-owned cooperative model across Westchester County, as you see. We try to coordinate a partner network of cooperatives and other educational, governmental, and service organizations with the objective of promoting and supporting the development of worker-owned cooperatives here in Westchester County. What do? We identify people that are interested in creating a worker-owned cooperative, try to discuss their needs and how a cooperative could address them. We conduct preliminary research about different business ideas, trying to identify available resources, including organizations and individuals that could provide business and worker cooperative development assistance. We assist prospective worker owners by assessing their needs and referring them to organizations that offer technical, financial, business development, and educational assistance. Help us, and if, identify funding sources, right, to contribute for the payment of those services if needed. As I was saying before, many of these organizations that provide these kind of services in this city are restricted to city residents, but we can help funding some of the costs of these assistance. And last but certainly not least, all our services are provided free of charge. So thank you. Thank you for listening. Again, the Westchester Cooperative website, which is westchestercooperative.net, is being built as we speak. So hopefully in the next couple of weeks, it will be up and running. And you can send us an email at info@westchestercooperative.net. And my phone number is 914-418-4058. So thank you very much. Let me